Hello YouTube viewers, welcome back to my channel. Sri Tips here. This is part 2 of the simple 14K scrap gold refining video, and I'm going to demonstrate how I get the silver back out of those blue solutions. I'm going to use my phone here. I got a new smartphone, and I'm going to try to interface that with the camera and experiment with that just for a little bit. Then when we get done with the gold refining, we're going to melt it up and pour it in a bucket of water and make some nice shot out of it, and then add it to my stack here and get a new total for the pure gold in my little bottle here. Here we go. All right, man, welcome back to my channel. This is Sri Tips, and I've got me a new toy here. I've got my smartphone synced up with my GoPro. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at this part 2 of the simple gold refining video. Here's our Karat gold that was in quarted that we parted with hot dilute nitric acid. So the next step is to get the this acid solution off of here. And then we'll dissolve the little chips of gold in aqua regia. Up here, we've got our pitcher that we were dissolving in dilute nitric acid. We'll continue that. I'm going to draw a little bit of the silver out of there and cement that out and show you how I recover the silver out of these silver solutions that came from the unquarted gold. This is how I get the silver back out of my solution. I add pieces of copper to the silver that's in solution. Here's a piece of copper. I'm pulling it out right now. See that? And what it does is there's a chemical reaction that takes place in here, and the silver comes out of solution and forms on that piece of copper in there. I'm trying to manipulate the camera here and do this at the same time, but that's pure silver metal in there that's cemented out of that solution onto that copper. I'm going to start this off with a demonstration on how I get the silver out of these solutions. If you remember, in part 1, we extracted the silver and base metals out of this imported gold and added it to this container here. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of this solution. Now what I would normally do is filter this, and first I add a little bit more silver to it, just to make sure that all the available free nitric acid in this solution has been consumed. Because if we fail to do that, if we fail to put more silver in here and consume the excess nitric, then what will happen is this copper that we're getting ready to stick in here will become needlessly consumed by that excess nitric. So I'm going to stick this piece of copper down in here. You'll be able to see what happens. See how the silver forms on it instantly? Let me pull that up here for you. You stick the copper in there, and like magic, the silver starts coming out of solution on that copper. The two metals trade places. The copper goes in solution, and the silver comes out of solution. All right, that's for the material that we rendered from our unquarted gold in part 1. As for the silver in our pitcher up here, same thing. And I'm going to get a little bit of it and add it to this tube. This one will probably be a little cleaner because there wasn't as much foreign material in this picture as there was in the Karat jewelry that I added to the encorded gold there. I'm going to take a piece of copper again. I'm going to stick it in here, and this is just so cool to watch. The copper instantly starts to come out of a solution, or the silver starts to come instantly out of solution onto that piece of copper, like magic. Now that metal that's falling off the copper in there is pure silver metal. And that's how I will recover the silver that I added to the encorded gold in part 1. I'll filter this all out, get all the solids out of it, and then put it into a clean beaker and add nice strips of clean copper metal and cement all of the silver and get every bit of silver back out of this solution. All the silver that I added for the incorporation, plus any silver that was already present in the Karat scrap. There were many questions about what happens to the silver that we add to the gold to incord it, and the answer is I reduce it or render it back out of the solutions by adding this copper to it. You'll notice on the right hand side there we've got a little bit more reaction going on, a little bit of bubbling and so forth, and not so much in the solution on the left hand side. That's because there was a little bit of excess nitric left in that sample in the right hand test tube. Okay, this was a demonstration on how we get the silver back out of that blue solution. That metal in there, that gray metal, is pure elemental silver. About 99%, 99.5% pure. And what we do is once I get the silver cemented out like that, what I'll do is put it in a filter and rinse all that blue liquid off of there. And then, once I get all the liquid rinsed off, I put it in this bucket, save it. This is all cement silver. And then I'll melt this, pour it in some water to make this shot. And then what I do is I add the shot to my electrolytic silver cell in the anode filter there, and we pass an electric current through it. The silver cell is made out of stainless steel. It's a stainless steel bowl from Kmart. The electrolyte is silver nitrate solution, and we pass an electric current through it, and then it plates out as absolutely pure elemental silver metal inside the stainless steel bowl. Once it gets full, I'll harvest the pure silver crystal, and this is what it looks like when we get it out of there. Absolutely gorgeous, pure elemental silver crystal. Looks like snow. Now we're going to turn our attention to the gold, but before I do that, I'm going to remove all of the silver out of here because we're going to be using hydrochloric acid to dissolve the gold. The hydrochloric acid in that reaction will interact with the silver that we have in here, and we don't want to get a bunch of silver chloride formed in our silver solutions. So what we're going to do here is this is the fourth nitric acid boil from part one of the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to empty this nitric down here. Can still be used to boil or dissolve silver. So we're going to pour this now off into this container and save it. I'll save this used nitric and use it to dissolve silver in a future refining. Move this out of the way now. I'm going to bring my silver jar back up here. And what we'll do is rinse the gold off with a little bit of distilled water before we go to dissolve it, just to make sure we got all the silver rinsed out of this beaker. And you'll see when I pour the hydrochloric acid in here, if there's any silver in here, it will immediately form visible white silver chloride, and that's something that we don't want to see. By leaving the gold in those dilute nitric acid treatments for as long as we did, and getting a colorless solution on the last hot dilute nitric treatment, that pretty much guarantees that all the silver has been put into solution and removed from these granules of gold up in here. So we shouldn't have any silver chloride to deal with now if we've done this properly. Our silver out of the way. We're going to bring our gold back up front, and we're going to, here's our very fine looking granules of gold, nice caramel brown color. This gold right here, if we needed to, we could melt this up and make new alloys for jewelry making, or any other use that we might have to produce some alloys. The only problem might be if there's any lead in here. Lead, even in trace amounts, will ruin the ductility and malleability of the gold. All right, I'm going to pour some hydrochloric acid in here. This is 31.45%. Hardware store muriatic acid. Hydrochloric acid, the same thing. When we pour this in, let's see if we get any silver chloride formation in here. Let's see if we did our job properly with these nitric acid treatments. Here we go. I'm going to add about 400 milliliters. Here we go. All right, I didn't see any silver chloride forming, and that is because we did such a good job with our dilute nitric acid treatments of getting all the silver out of this gold. If there was any residual silver left in here, we would have seen an instant formation of silver chloride when we added that hydrochloric acid. Now we're going to add a little bit of sulfuric acid here. Sulfuric acid is added to precipitate any lead that might be present. That's about 1 milliliter of concentrated sulfuric acid going in. Now we're going to add some concentrated nitric acid to form aqua regia in our beaker. Notice that we did not pre-mix the aqua regia 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 like everybody says to do. What we're doing instead is adding the hydrochloric acid first. Then we're going to add small incremental doses of concentrated nitric acid to just dissolve the gold. There's 7 3-milliliter doses of concentrated nitric. And we're going to set this up on the heat now. You can see some bubbles starting to form down in there. I'm going to put this up on the heat and let this dissolve. That's 400 milliliters of hydrochloric acid with just 21 milliliters of nitric acid. And I hit it just right. I got just enough nitric acid in there to just dissolve all the gold. This will avoid having to denox the solution before we precipitate. Got the swap modes on the camera. I just added about 1/4 of 1 milliliter of more acid, nitric acid there. And if you look down in the bottom down here, you'll be able to see that just about all of the gold has gone into solution. That 1/4 milliliter of acid that I just added should dissolve the rest of those flakes. So I cranked the heat up, and we'll just let this continue to react on high heat until we get all that stuff to go into solution. So far I've only added about 21 milliliters of nitric acid to the solution to get all that gold to dissolve. After adding that 1/4 milliliter of nitric, every single piece of residual gold that was in here has gone into solution now. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this down off the heat and let this cool down so we can precipitate out the pure gold. Solution's been sitting off the heat now for about 20 minutes. I'm going to add some ice here to cool it down so we can do a precipitation. Our solution is cooled down to about the temperature of a cold glass of iced tea. Now what we'll do is I'm going to set up a filter here. We're going to filter the solution and then precipitate it with sodium metabisulfite. I'm using vacuum filtration here. I've got a little gasket between the funnel and the flask. I put a filter paper in there. It's a number 2 medium flow. Dampen the filter paper with a little bit of distilled water here, and then we're gonna pour our solution through this filter. Here we go. Gets the filter out real good. Got it pulled through the filter now. What we'll do, set the funnel off back here out of the way. And I'm going to transfer the solution into a clean beaker here. Bit over 2 troy ounces of gold here, so whenever I have that much, I always add a few pieces of ice. The ice is made from tap water. That'll keep it cool during this reaction. Precipitating with sodium metabisulfite, and this is an exothermic reaction. Creates a little bit of heat. So here we go. We're going to precipitate the pure gold out of our solution. Got a little piece of filter paper here, cut up. I'm gonna dip it down in our solution. And we're gonna do a stannous chloride test here. Make sure we got all the gold out of solution. See if there's anything else in our solution. That stannous test is dead. Negative. Nothing. No reaction. So all the precious metals have been precipitated out of our solution. The solution, the waste solution sitting on top of the gold, does have a tiny bit of a tint of yellow, which tells me that we may have some platinum group metals in solution. So what I'm going to do here, I've got a temporary waste container. I'm going to pour off this waste solution into this temporary waste container. A little bit of the gold to go over with it, but that's okay because this will be going into our stock pot. This will have traces of platinum group metals possibly in it. And so we put this waste solution into a stock pot that's full of copper. That's the first step in the waste treatment process. And it also serves as a medium to accumulate those precious metals that these waste solutions might contain. We're going to rinse our gold off, a little bit of hydrochloric acid. This will help get the any of the metals, the dissolved metals that are in our gold with it. This will get that out, plus it'll tend to get out any excess sodium metabisulfite that might be in here. Now we're going to pour this acid off into our temporary container. Again, a little bit of gold to go over with it. That's okay. This will be going into our stock pot, designed to capture traces of precious metals. All right, speaking of stock pot, drained it out. This has been sitting since October of 2018. This is my recent stock pot. You can see there's a bunch of mud down there in the bottom. I've got a piece of copper in there. All that mud is going to be precious metals that have accumulated over the last year and a half. It's a piece of copper down on the bottom. So, I hate to say it, but I got another stock pot refining video coming up very soon. Okay, I think we've got this rinsed out fairly well. Pull off this last rinse. We'll figure out what to do with this gold powder. What I'll do is rinse it with a little water now. Looking pretty good, man. I was gonna try another refining, but I don't think I need to do it, man. I think this is gonna be okay. Staying together pretty well. All right, next step, I'm gonna call it here. I'm gonna go ahead and let's get this into a melt dish, and we'll melt this into some shot and get a yield on it. Here's our gold that we've poured in some water here. I'm going to pour the tap water off now. Rinse it off a little bit here with some hot water. Into this little dish here. I'm going to rinse it with a little bit of distilled water now, so keep the spots off of it. And now it's going over here on the stove. I'm going to dry this off, and we'll get some yields on it and see what kind of weight we got on our pure gold. Here's our gold. It's been dried off. I'll put a little dish up here on our scale. Zero that out. We'll add the gold to our dish. What were we looking for? I think it was 66.4 grams is what we calculated the yield should be. And we got 65.4, which is normal because Karat scrap is very rarely ever plumb. All right, now we're going to add that to our stack here. The bottle and the cap weigh 85 grams even. We're going to pour this gold that we just refined in with this that we've got in this bottle here. And then we'll get a tally on what our stack is going to be here. It's a little hat looking thing there, pretty neat, from the gold hitting that cold water. All right, we got it all in there. Let's see what the final tally is here. I'm gonna zero this out. Stick our bottle on there. All right, we got 616.8. So that's 616.8. Subtract 85. So we've got 531.8 grams of pure gold in our stack. Okay, that will conclude the simple 14 karat scrap gold refining video. I added to my stack here. We got 500, almost 532 grams of pure gold in our bottle now. I'm going to keep going until I get this filled up. And a couple things about the refining. I did lose some proficiency because I haven't done this in a couple of months. I was supposed to use some dilute nitric acid that I had on the shelf out there already in a bottle, and I forgot to do that. And there were a couple other mistakes that I made. I think I added too much hydrochloric acid when I did the first dissolve of the granules. I added 400. I probably should only put about 300 in there, maybe 250, because all I had was a little over 2 troy ounces. So, you know, you lose proficiency if you don't do this stuff regularly, and that was evident in those errors that I made. A couple other things: refining other people's material. I don't do it. I only refine the material that my wife and I find at local sales. So I've been getting a lot of requests for people to if they can send their material to me, and I just don't do that. And the other thing is, my eBay store People are asking questions about refining through my eBay messaging system, and eBay forbids that. So if you ask me a question through my eBay message, through my eBay store, I won't be able to answer it. I'll just have to delete it. You can see my email. Click on the About on my YouTube channel, and my email is there. You can send me an email, and I'll try to answer any emails that you have. And oh yeah, don't forget, thank you to the people that have contributed to my PayPal account. Greatly appreciated. That helps and goes a long way with helping Sweet Tips continue to make precious metals refining videos. Okay, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Finish this picture off to find out who watches my videos to the very end, because I know there's going to be people squawking about why didn't I continue to dissolve this. Here we go. We're going to finish this thing off. Pour about 150 milliliters of nitric in here, and then we'll put this on time lapse and watch it go.